Hey gamers, the Red Dragon here from Battlestrats.com, and today we are taking a look at the units in RUSE. So we're going to be going through the production menu, touching on some things that you need to know about the units, what type of units you need to be building, etc. So one thing before I start out I'll mention is that every nation has different units, and of course a lot of you probably already know that. A lot of you are probably trying to figure out what nations have the best units for each individual category. For instance, what nation has the best armor, the best airplanes, etc. The way to figure that out is to head over to the link that I have in the description box. It's the Battlestrats RUSE strategy guide. It's completely free. We've got everything listed out and labeled so you can easily compare the units from one nation to another. It's one of the first places you need to go in order to really take this game serious. If you want to win, you need to know the pros and cons of each nation and what they can do and their strengths and weaknesses. We also have a nation guide that'll help you decide what nation you need to be, because there's several of them out there, so you don't have time to play all of them and figure everything out as far as that goes. So head on over to that link after the video and check that out. So we're going to be looking at the U.S., and as I said, every nation has its own different units, so what I talk about in this video may not work for different nations, but I'm going to try to keep it general. Supply depot, we talked about that last video. You're going to have those to create income, to build other units. The administrative building. Now, the only reason to have an administrative building is to generate $1 every 4 seconds. Now, if you do the math, there's a long period before you even recuperate that $100 that you invested into that building. So, heads up, don't build an administrative building right off the bat. I would invest my money wisely in other units and other bases, etc., because before you really start profiting from the administrative building, it's going to be a long time. So only build administrative buildings if you run out of supply depots, or if it's going to be a really long game and you can tell that it's going to be a long game. If it's going to be a short game, there's no reason to have an administrative building. Secondary headquarters. These are really good to build out away from your main headquarters. This is going to allow you to have engineers that can go out and grab more supply depots that's away from your main base, so they don't have to drive as far. And you can also set up camp near an enemy. A lot of times I like to build secondary headquarters near an enemy camp. That way I can turn around and build armor bases and anti-tank bases right there next to their camp. It's a good way to really push that enemy in and to develop units that are right there so they can get out there real quick. Every HQ has its own different units. For the U.S., they have a machine gun, anti-tank, and an anti-air bunker. These are completely up to you. A lot of times these bunkers are heavily fortified, so they can take a lot of punishment before going down, and some of them can really do a whole lot of damage. So that's something you're just going to have to play with and figure out whether or not it's something you want to invest in. A lot of times I like to keep one near my base to keep enemy units who are trying to come in to capture my bases, to keep them out. With the barracks, you want to use recon. Recon, everybody should be using tons of recon. I usually have around 3 or 4 recon out on the field at one time. I create a little barrier around my base so I can see any incoming units. Another good reason to use recon is because they can spot hidden units. So that's going to keep you from getting a surprise attack on your units. The infantry, one of the least used units in the game that I've seen so far, but one of the most powerful. With the infantry, you can go out, you can capture enemy units. You just click on that base and you'll see an option that says capture. They can run over and turn an enemy airfield into your airfield, and you can start pumping out units right there in their base. It's very, very important to use that feature. Another thing to do with the infantry is to do what we talked about with the recon. Hide in buildings, hide in the forest, and by buildings I just mean you don't actually tell them to go hide in the town square, or you just point and click in the town square and they'll go hide automatically. You point and click and tell them to go into the woods, they're going to hide and lay down automatically. So there's no special feature that you have to tell them to do. If they're in a town or a forest, they're automatically going to be hidden, and if an enemy comes up on them, even if they're super powerful enemy units, a lot of times you can take those units out by using the surprise attack feature if they don't have recon. If you look at the stats between, for instance, the heavy infantry rangers and the regular GI light infantry units, there's a huge difference. So a lot of times I will take that extra step and research rangers in order to get that extra benefit from them. Artillery and anti-air. One of the first units I build is an anti-aircraft gun. You want to put those up around your base to keep out early attacks from paratroopers. You want to have a defense against somebody who's going to spam aircraft units against your base. These are very important. Now, some people like to build the heavy anti-aircraft guns. I actually like to build a lot of the cheaper ones, the really light ones, because with the cheaper ones you can hide them in town squares and in forests as well. So once again, you can use that for surprise attack. These little guns, they don't do a whole lot of damage against enemy units, but in powerful numbers they can do a lot of damage. So I take the philosophy of having more with less power. So that way, if an enemy comes in, they're going to have to wipe out a whole lot of those anti-aircraft guns in order to be able to break through my barrier. Whereas if you build heavy units and you just build a few of them because they cost so much, that's a lot fewer targets for your enemy to come in on and push in and try to knock out those few heavy ones, and then your barrier is blown all wide open. Whereas if you put up a whole lot of light units, a lot of times you can back that up with heavier units that are not so many numbers and really fend off an incoming attack. Armor base, same thing goes with that. Armored recon is really good. In fact, if I was playing as the U.S., I use armored recon over the regular recon. With the armored one, it's going to last longer. They can take a little bit of damage, and they can also give damage. They can attack infantry and tanks. So pay attention to your nation and if they have armored recon, and if they do, you want to use that. You want to use recon everywhere. Set up around your base, not just the front of your base, but also be sure that you're protecting your flanks. The recons are really cheap and they can move extremely fast to the different areas, so there's no reason not to ever be protected from recon. Same thing that we kind of touched on with the anti-air is that you want to have a whole lot of light units in order to fend off a big attack. Have a few more heavier strong units in the back who can back up those light units. But once again, you don't want to just build only super heavy tanks, because that's as much as they cost, you're not going to be able to come out a lot of times and build a whole lot of them, and so that way you're vulnerable. There's more power in having a larger force. Even if that means cheaper units that may not do as much damage, when you mix and match all the units together, you can really do a whole lot of damage. Same thing goes with the anti-tank. And I mean, it's pretty much the same way all the way across. Once you start understanding how this works, the anti-tank units, the cheaper ones, you can hide those in the woods. You can do the surprise attack. They may not do as much damage as the heavier tank destroyers do, but being able to hide those units in towns and in woods makes a huge difference. And once again, they're so cheap that you can pump out a ton of them and place them anywhere you want to, and you can create yourself a nice little barrier or a nice little attack moving forward. One thing that I will mention, if you're moving a force as one, if you're taking tanks, you're taking infantry, mix and match them all together. Bring in anti-air. That way bombers can't come in and see your tanks out in the wide open and take those out. Really use the paper, rock, scissors to form a huge freaking boulder that can't be penetrated and just move in as one force. That's what I like to do. With the aircraft, as I said, some units, some nations you have to research the airborne paratroopers. With the U.S. you do. Some nations you don't. But if you want to gamble early on in the game, some people like to, in the first 3 or 4 minutes, spend all their money and resources on building an airport, getting those paratroopers in, and trying to capture enemy bases early on. And sometimes you can win in the first 5 minutes of a game. But it's a gamble. You know, if you do that, you spend all your money and resources in airfields early on, and then you get over to your enemy and you see that they have anti-air, you're going to be in a world of hurting for a little bit until you can build your resources back up. But a lot of times games come down to simple gambles online in RUSE. Sometimes the gambles pay off and sometimes they don't. With the fighters and the bombers, there's a discussion right now in the Battlestrats forums as to which one is better. They both have their pros and cons. Bombers are going to do a lot of heavy damage to units out on the ground, and they have a big splash damage. So if you have a lot of enemy units grouped up together and you bomb one that's in the middle, it's actually going to damage and could possibly destroy other units surrounding it because of the splash. The negative about bombers are they are slow, so it's going to be a lot longer before they fly back into your base and can be sent back out once they've resupplied. Fighter bombers are a whole lot faster, so even if an enemy unit has anti-air, if they don't have a whole lot of it, sometimes you can fly in and fly out and make it safely because they are so fast. They're going to be able to hit more targets like one-on. There's not as much splash damage with them. But as you see from the stats, some of the bombers are better against tanks than the actual bombers are. Some of the fighter planes. And then the last thing we have to look at is the prototype units. Every nation has their own different prototype units. For the U.S. example, they have this heavy artillery, which is really great. It has a huge range. You can see so far. I like to use artillery in order to really just get under the skin of enemy units. They are not good against armor, but they are good at taking out infantry units that are hiding in trees that your recon may have eyes on. They're also good against taking out buildings. One good tactic to do against an enemy is, if you can't penetrate their defenses, take out their supply lines, attack their buildings, attack those transport trucks that are bringing in money for them. If you cut the money out from under the enemy, they're not going to have any income in order to build more units and more defense. So that's one thing that you really need to target when you're playing and using artillery. Once again, artillery is good in numbers. You have a whole lot of artillery taking out units. It can be really destructive. Be sure that you're defending your artillery. Don't let infantry units walk up on that heavy artillery. Be sure you're protecting that. And the same thing goes with super heavy tanks, as we talked about with the armor section before. It's good to have really super duty tanks. But also it's good to have that backed up with a lot of light and medium tanks in order to make you more versatile, to let you be able to move in as a big force. If some of your units start getting taken out or getting wounded, they can run to the back, and those healthy units can move up, move forward, and a lot of times you can keep your units alive if you have a whole lot of them because the units are able to run away from the attack that's coming on. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So this is the units for RUSE. In the next video, we're going to be actually looking at the RUSEs and how to use them. We're going to give you some good ideas and some good tips in order to really expand what you may consider RUSEs, because a lot of them are a lot more in depth than what you think. This has been the Red Dragon. Be sure to head over to battlestrats.com for more RUSE information and sign up for the community. This is Red Dragon signing out. Thanks.